is Alun R, and today, this afternoon in my time, I'm facilitating a session, Achtung, Cthulhu Dark. This is my tweak of Cthulhu Dark for wartime, Second World War espionage and action, using as a base the Cthulhu Dark rules by Graham Walmsley. But the intention is to use it to play in settings such as Achtung Cthulhu or World War Cthulhu by Modiphius and Cubicle 7, respectively. The rules have been tweaked a bit, and that will become apparent in play. The aim, so the players will be playing agents or soldiers operating in occupied Europe during World War II. But in this World War II, the supernatural, occult, and a Cthulhu mythos is real. And we're specifically playing this series, which I've titled "The Depth of the Horror." It's scaffolded by this printed Modiphius adventure called Heroes of the Sea. My thanks to Paul, who's in the group today, for picking that up for me from UK Games Expo, although I have to stress it was in the sale. And so it is now May 1940. The German Blitzkrieg has driven a wedge between the British Expeditionary Force and most of its French allies, cutting them off with their backs to the sea around Dunkirk, along with the Belgian army to the east and the French 1st Division to the south and west. In this series of 4 games, this is the first of 4, the players will portray characters seeking to keep the Allied evacuation safe from a secret German operation for Nadel, part of Projekt Prometheus, which is part of my ongoing Achtung Cthulhu trip through the war, by first finding a British spy, Agatha Marsham, Agent Wotan, lost behind rapidly advancing German lines. So in terms of tone, we've got Nazis, Cthulhu, and the occult. So this game is intended to be rich in darkness and foreboding. How dark may depend on how the players approach the game. But as in any game based on Cthulhu or anything similar, it's fair to say that the longer-term fate of the characters is pretty bleak, and Cthulhu Dark is no more forgiving in that direction. Though in this slight hack, there are more options for characters to reduce the stress and risk of losing their stability. And much of that is inspired by Mark Diaz Truman's Cartel Quickstart, published by Magpie Games, which is a great game of itself. You should play it. Subject matter. The scenario involves occult activity of our fictionalized Third Reich. The activities of the real Nazi regime that took over Germany in the 1930s are well known. And I just want to stress that by adding aspects of the occult and supernatural to the mix, I'm certainly not seeking to trivialize those real and terrible events. But given the nature of the material, we'll be careful to use the safety tool espoused by the Guantlet community, because this game is organized as part of the Guantlet Hangouts Calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, then if you look up Guantlet RPG, you will find a fabulous community of people. These players are fine examples of the community, playing all kinds of really great games online, and also we have a vibrant community discussing rules and RPG in general, frankly. But the Gauntlet does espouse certain safety tools. The ones that we'll be using today are the X card. I would say to the players, because I tend not to read the comments, the chat very effectively, if you X like that, I will pick it up. I know these players are all familiar with the X card, and so I won't go any further than that. We'll also be using the Gauntlet inclusivity policy, and this is an open table. I think we're beginning to call it open door. So if something happens and one of the players has to go, that's fine. Just go. If you come back, that's brilliant. But if something comes up, life happens. Don't worry about it. We'll also be playing with lines and veils, and the players have access to a tab in the character keeper called Cats, Lines and Veils. My starting lines are those things that we will not see in the fiction. Our graphic depiction of Nazi atrocities. We won't see any examples of sexual violence or violence against children, though we may see their consequences or see some references to them in the fiction, conceivably, given where we're playing. I won't ask the players to announce any other lines they want. I just ask them to edit that cell in the character keeper if there are any others they want to add, and I'll take note of that. Veils are those bits of the fiction where we'll draw a line, we'll draw a curtain. So while they may happen in the fiction, we won't see the graphic detail of them. And I've got one already in there, and there's another one that I'll add in a moment. My starting point is sex. Because I'm old and British, I just find that really difficult to kind of engage with in the detail live on television, so to speak. And I'd also add torture. Torture may go on, but we won't see the details. We'll fade to black, draw the curtain, whatever. And again, I'd ask the players to add to that cell any other veils they would like. You know, I'm conscious that this is material that conceivably is sensitive, so I want to be careful about it. So with that in mind, could I ask the players just to introduce themselves in the order I can see you? So just, you know, say hello, tell us something about yourself, or tell us how long you've been playing with the Gauntlet, whatever you want. And then we'll do character generation live and dangerous in front of the public. So Sabine, should we start with you?
Hello, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns. I'm from Germany, but I don't mind hitting Nazis at all. Yeah, since I haven't a character yet, there's not much to say, and so I will stop.
Thank you for that. Moving along, Will, just introduce yourself.
My name is Will. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm looking forward to grinding another character into the depths of madness or the dirt, just like I have done in the previous Achtung Cthulhu games.
Yeah, I think you're looking for 4 of 4, aren't you? 4 games of Achtung Cthulhu, 4 mad and insane characters. Okay. Horst, say hello.
I'm Horst. I use he, him pronouns. I'm probably just here for one session, so I'm looking forward to gruesome death or descent into madness if possible.
Well, we'll try to deliver that then. And finally, Paul, who is and finally, Paul, who is the only player who will be in all 4 of these sessions. So, Paul.
Hello, yeah, I'm Paul, he, him. Yeah, and I'm going to be here for all 4 sessions. So, yeah, that's me.
We'll hope not to drive you mad in session 1 then, Paul. And sorry, I should have said I'm he, him as well. So, with that in mind, has anyone had any thoughts about the character, the archetype they want to play with? Who wants, you know, just leap in? Who wants what? I notice, Will, you've already sought to bag educated advisor.
Oh, that was just me playing around with the thing. I am fluid if anyone else wants to play an educated advisor.
Okay, doesn't look like anyone's fighting for that one.
So I will play the educated advisor if no one's got any objections.
You're in.
Can I just ask you, Alan, quickly? I was thinking about making this Edward Blake, who was Radim Zakpal's correspondent in the pre-war days.
Yeah, sorry, this is an in-joke, so forgive me. But in every one of my games, I have to mention Pursuivant. And increasingly, in every one of Will's games with me, he has to mention Radim Zakpal for reasons that may or may not become clear. So forgive us the in-joke. Who else wants to step up and say what they want to play?
I'll take the NCO. I'm thinking of a ex-London copper, a guy called Wilbur Strauss.
Fine, that works for me. So select your wartime role in the character keeper. Sabine, Horst, what are you thinking?
I am making a hard-eyed commando, and he's called Philip Darling. He, I think he is maybe a peer or some kind of upper class person, kind of a bit of an idealist, actually.
Okay, that's fine. So if you click on that, you should get a role description and an example skill set. Horst, what have you got in mind?
Yeah, I'm torn between undercover agent or careful courier. So I would like to play a Polish noble who is like part of the diplomatic corps. What would that be? What do you think? What would fit?
I mean, if you click either of those in wartime role, you'll get an idea of the skill set. And my recollection is there's a bit of overlap between them. I guess that the courier is a bit more of the negotiator. The undercover agent is more, well, the secret agent. So, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, go with the courier then.
Okay. So we have Wilbur Strauss, the tough NCO. I'm reading in order the character keeper. Philip Darling, hard-eyed commando. Sophia Odrovaza. Am I pronouncing that right, Horst? What's your... Yeah, okay. Who's going to be the careful courier, I think. And Arthur Blake, codename Sharp, who's going to be the educated advisor. Okay. And what did you do before? I'll go back the other way now in terms of the character keeper. So Will, what did Arthur Blake do before the war? Tell our thousands of listeners.
So Arthur Blake was a Oxbridge graduate and a academic specializing in ancient archaeology and some of the more esoteric beliefs across Europe. And with the outbreak of the war, he was recruited into MI6 along with a lot of the Oxbridge elite. And from MI6, his skill set brought him to the attention of the Pursuivants, where he is now a fledgling member of the Pursuivants.
That's great. And if all goes to plan, he will be recruited by the Soviets sometime in 1943.
But not before he has a son who's going to become Sharp of the Northern Pursuivants.
There are too many cross hard cuts here. Okay. Horst, what are you thinking Sophia did before the war? Or before getting
I think
involved?
she was the wife of a Polish noble working as the ambassador to in London for the Polish was it at that time Republic Kingdom? I don't know.
I think probably a republic at that point. And did her husband get out with the Polish government in exile?
Yeah, I would assume that she is like after Germany invaded Poland and the exile government was established in London. She felt the patriotic urge to, or her what's it called, like duty to report in.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, if you can just summarize that in that bit of the character keeper, that'd be great. Philip Darling, tell us about Philip, Sabine.
Well, Philip Darling was born into a rich family, maybe the younger son of a lord. He was educated, of course, at Eton or something comparable. He has a very solid education. He went into the military quite early. He has seen a lot of combat, but it has not yet broken his positive outlook on life. He is a student of the humanities and interested in the classics and literature and things like that.
Okay, no, I think that's good. Give me some idea. How old is he? How long has he been? If he came straight out of Eton, Sandhurst for officer training. So has he been in the army for 3 years or 10 years? What are you thinking?
More like 10 years.
Okay, so joined the army in the interwar years and is in the 1930s, and is probably now in his late 20s, early 30s, I suppose.
I thought mid 30s. I thought.
Okay. And Wilbur, tell us what Wilbur did before the war, Paul.
Wilbur was an East End scoundrel in London before spending too many long nights locked in cells, and then he thought he would join the Her Majesty's police force or His Majesty's police force. he soon then found that he'd hit a hard ceiling. Clearly, scoundrel cockneys weren't too appreciated in the Met Police, so he left the police and since then joined the army, where he's been for some years and has now reached the lofty rank of sergeant.
So give us some idea. Is he again in his 30s, or I mean, because at this point in the war, he could even be in his 40s if you wanted him to.
Yeah, I think he's been around for some period of time, so young 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you've given us a description of yourself. Do you want to add that age just for my reference?
Sure, will do.
And then tell us. Describe yourself as others see you. So go ahead, Paul. Describe Wilbur.
Okay, I am in my young 40s, and others tend to perceive me as a foul-mouthed cockney. He is, though, respected by his troops for being a no-nonsense NCO, and his most commonly heard tagline is "shit or get off the pot."
Right, we're gonna have fun with that. Philip, describe Philip? Describe yourself as others see you, Philip.
Yes, Philip. Others. Superficially, you'd see an upper class twat, maybe, because he really tries to speak the King's English very perfectly. I don't know if I can do that, but I'll try. And but if you know him a little bit better, you know that he will do what needs to be done.
Okay, so summarize that in the character sheet if you would. Now, so we've got I've just noticed, unhappy wife of the Polish ambassador in London, working for the exile government, Sophia. So describe yourself as others see you.
Well, she's rather small, I think, dark hair. She's in her early 40s, devout Christian. That's why she's unhappy, because she would like to get a divorce, but it's impossible if you're Catholic. She's rather androgynous.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word. Preferring to wear male clothes. Yeah, that's what you see, I guess.
Fine. If you put that in the sheet, and then Will, tell us about Arthur Blake.
As his description? Sorry?
Yes, please, describe yourself as others see.
So he's in his early 30s. He's slightly fresh-faced. He's got a very determined sort of demeanor. He takes his role here very seriously, knowing things that man should not know, as his position in the pursuivants and an educated advisor. But he's clearly out of his depth here in the front lines. He's flinches every time an explosion goes off nearby. His hands shake as he fiddles with his gun. He's not at ease here among the front lines of the war.
Okay. I'd like to skip. There's two bits of the character sheet to say which member of the team do you care most about and why, and which do you care least about and why. I'll come back to those if I may. I'd like instead to skip to why did you join the Secret War? So why have you agreed to be part of this mission? And this would be an opportunity for you also to tell me whether you are in the briefing in London given by Scarlet Dragon Pursuivant, or whether you join this group in northern France. So, Arthur, given what you've just told us, I'm guessing that you're part of the briefing in London. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us why you joined the Secret War.
The thirst for knowledge. I was originally joined the army out of God, King, and Country, but then the opportunity to join the Pursuivants, I leapt at it for the opportunity to find out more and to get backing for my studies and to get there before the Nazis do.
Fine. And can you just read what thirst for knowledge translates to in terms of the game descriptor?
So I have always been fascinated by the allure of the blasphemous unknown.
Okay. I'll come back to that in a moment. Sophia, why did you get involved?
Well, I picked My Country, Right or Wrong. I believe in God, King, and Country, and there's a feeling among the Polish nobility and, frankly, among the Polish population that Poland is the sacrificial lamb of Europe. There's like a weird religious context as well, and she feels that she has to sacrifice herself for the greater good of the Polish people, and she's not accepting that the country will disappear from the maps again.
Yes, true. I get that. And presumably that background and that drive means that for practical purposes, she is a relatively sophisticated individual. You know, she
yes.
Yeah,
definitely. She has studied. She's fluent in, as a Polish noble, you have to speak French, obviously. Germany is your neighbor. She studied in London, so she's at least fluent in these three languages.
Fine.
And interested in the arts and philosophy and so forth.
Fine. I get that. Philip, why in God's name did you get sucked into this?
I did not get sucked into this. I chose this because when I understood what the Nazis were doing, I felt it was my duty to do something, to stand up for something right, for against them. I mean, I'm a soldier, obviously I have to fight them anyway, but this is going farther than I thought it would, but I'm willing to do my part.
Great. Now, based on that so far, what I think I've got is that briefing by Scarlet Dragon in London. Certainly, Arthur is in that briefing. I think Sophia is in that briefing. Is Philip, or is Philip in northern France?
I think Philip is already in northern France, and I'm going to rename him because I want to have an in-joke as well. I will rename him as Philip Blonde. Yeah.
Oh wow, these cuts are getting deeper. I'm going to have an awful long list of other actual plays to pick up all of this. Sabine has just referenced Jamie Blonde, who was my character in a game of Masks run by Leandro. So we must tell Leandro that he's getting mileage here as well. Thank you for that. And finally, Wilbur, why did you get into this?
Greed is my main drive. Clearly, operating out on a limb away from a standard unit, there is a high chance that I could pocket some loot. I've spent many years in the army and not really got much for it, so I'm now looking at some kind of payoff. Things I value the most is I have a few keepsakes, a photo, a letter, and a necklace of my mother's that I carry at all time, and she died in a bombing raid in World War One.
Right. Can I ask another question then? In terms of your greed, what can't you resist?
Gold.
Fine. Would you add that down there as well, please? Just so I know what to tempt you with. And then a run back across. Philip, you've got into this out of sheer humanity. What would you do to stop the Nazis?
Whatever duty commands and honor allows.
Oh, honor allows. So there might be a limit. Is that what that's meant to infer?
Yes,
okay.
There is a limit. Of course. I mean, I'm an Englishman. There are things I am not willing to do. Fine.
So war is a game for men, but you play it like a gentleman.
Yes.
Thank you. I like that. Sophia, Your Country, Right or Wrong, what would it take to betray those ideals?
Really difficult. I think if her belief in God was somehow shattered, I mean, if she would be faced with the reality of the mythos, I guess, she couldn't uphold the belief that there's like sense in the universe. So yeah, if she sees proof of the existence of the mythos, I guess that would
Okay.
make it difficult to believe in God, king, and country.
Okay, because we could add, yeah, church, king, and country in the sense of her religious beliefs. So if push came to shove, and she saw the reality of mythos, because presumably the briefing from the pursuivants is fairly straightforward. Arthur is probably reading much more into that briefing than Sophia is. Yeah? Okay, fine. If you can summarize that in a sentence or two, I'd be grateful. Finally, Arthur, thirst for knowledge, fascination by the blasphemous unknown. What would you give up to know more?
The only thing I would not give up is my country. I would give up my safety, my position, and my reputation. None of it matters.
Okay. Would you add, but not my country down there? Because I just want to remember what you won't give up, because it feels like you'll give up anything but that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave. Who do you like most? Who do you care about least and most until we've had a scene together? Because if I've understood this, then Wilbur, I didn't ask you. Are you seconded to the pursuivants, or are you in northern France?
I'm in northern France.
Okay. Let's assume, shall we, for the sake of dramatic convenience, that Philip, are you a lieutenant or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Can you add that rank just for reference?
Sure.
So Philip, can we assume that Philip and Wilbur are both in the Grenadier Guards? Because it would fit with the scenario as it develops. Is that okay? Thank you. So then, let's cut then to HMS Durant. HMS Durant is a destroyer. Sophia and Arthur embarked at Southampton and have made the crossing to Dunkirk under cover of night. German air superiority is marked. It's not quite complete, but it's pretty much complete. And the first thing you will see, Arthur and Sophia, is on the southern horizon, Dunkirk burning. What are you talking about as you lean on the bulwark of the ship, looking at this?
So, did you ever seen any action before, Miss Odrodzvaza?
Call me Sophie. I can see the pain when you try to pronounce my name.
Yes, I apologize. My languages escape me at the moment.
There's no reason to apologize, my dear friend. And no, I haven't been, how did you put it, in the fray?
Yes. Well, where duty demands, eh? It should be easy. It should be easy. We'll leave it to the professionals. It will be. We'll go in. We'll find our missing girl. And we'll come back. Be a doddle. Be a doddle.
May I ask you a question, Mr.
Yes,
Blake?
yes. By all means. By all means.
Do you believe in God?
I believe in things greater than mankind.
And these greater things will protect you. I am sure.
He looks very pained at the idea of that. Yes. Yes. I am. Let us hope.
And as dawn comes up, and the Durant makes its way to the long stone pier, the mole at Dunkirk, it's a continuous conveyor belt of ships. A ship comes in, picks up troops, goes back to sea. Another ship comes in, picks up troops, goes back to sea. And in fact, that's what Durant is doing. Once you get off, it will take on board as many soldiers as it can manage and steam back to back across the channel. Lieutenant Blonde, you and Sergeant Strauss have been sent into Dunkirk by your company commander, Captain Johnson. Apparently, and for reasons that, frankly, I think Wilbur struggles to understand, there are people coming from Britain to Dunkirk. And you want to pick them up and try to get them through to the Grenadiers HQ near the front line. Let's have let's see the pair of you on the mole. You've got the military police have kind of ushered you through to the front of the queue, if you will, so you can pick up your visitors. What do we see you doing or saying?
I think I will light up a cigarette and offer you one, Sergeant.
Oh, thank you very much, Lieutenant. I will have a drag on that, if you don't mind.
I do not.
And I will produce a small hip flask and say, well, let me pay back. Have a swig of this. Put ears on your chest, I hear.
I thank you, but it's a bit early in the day for me. Sorry, I'll have to go to the officers' lounge later, and I will have to partake there. I like to keep my wits about me.
As you say, Lieutenant. This is as good as what you'll find in the officers' mess, though.
I don't doubt it.
Probably because it came from the officers' mess.
Can I ask, Lieutenant Blonde, what do you make of your company commander, Captain Johnson?
Salt of the earth. Sorry, salt of the earth.
Right.
Very fine person.
Sarge, what do you make of him?
Of the major, captains don't command companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, playing these games with an ex-soldier is always a mistake in my experience. Okay, Major Johnson.
Major Johnson. I think he's he's a posh boy. He really hasn't got much experience leading troops at all. And looking at the devastation that the 3rd Regiment Coldstream Guards have found themselves in, I think he's a tool, a right tool.
Enough said. And then the Durant steams up to the mole, and 2 people get off the gangplank. They're ushered off the gangplank before the crowd of soldiers bustling and struggling to get aboard. And you see a bit of a small, lithe woman in her early 40s, dark hair, blue eyes, but dressed in men's clothing, I think I'm right in saying. And a younger man who doesn't look like he belongs here. Arthur, are you in uniform or are you in civvies?
I think Arthur is in unadorned uniform with no tags, no nothing. Just
Okay. But he looks like he's just come out of school, frankly, Sarge. Let's have a scene. There is a rush towards the gangplank. Sophia and Arthur have literally just got off the bottom when the line of MPs gives way and there is a surge towards the ship. What do we see the 4 of you doing?
I think that Arthur will very old-fashionedly grab hold of Sophia and try and shield her from the onrush of people and try and push through to these 2 men who seem to know what's going on.
Philip, what about you?
Shouting over the noise. A true gentleman. This is very much appreciated.
Well, my first instinct is to go and tell the soldiers off for being so pushy, because the people who will get on board if there is space, and if there's not, then pushing won't change that. But I have another job here, another duty, so I will refrain from doing that and go up to the young, well, not that young, our contacts.
Sarge, anything specific from you?
Yeah, I'm going to bellow at the top of my voice, tell these troops, push aside, let these civvies down the gangplank, let them along the dock.
Because I'm keen just to demonstrate the mechanics. Can we take a roll for the effectiveness of your command, please, Sarge? Now there is a link to the roll for your party. I've put it in the chat as well now. This is a game with a dice pool, and rather than have each of you set up a dice pool, I've set up a common dice pool. Yeah, promptly hot foul. And what you'll see is is 6 dice in total. That's the most you're ever going to roll. Thank God. You will always roll the white one in the middle. If you have expertise in something, you'll roll the orange expertise dice. And of course, you always have the option to roll the stress dice, which is green. All of that is common to Cthulhu Dark. I'll worry about the other 3 dice when we have a reason to. So right now, Sergeant Strauss, which of those dice do you think you're entitled to roll?
Well, I think as I am a NCO, I think I'm entitled to the expertise dice.
I think you are. So you're rolling the white dice and the orange dice. Go ahead.
Yep, 6 and 3.
Okay, so you take the highest dice, which is a 6. So there are 2 core moves in this game: investigate stuff and do anything else. There's a separate one for confronting the mythos and its minions. We'll come to that later. So do something else. On a 6, you succeed brilliantly, and the GM will ask you what additional benefit you get. So what additional benefit do I think probably, Lieutenant Blonde, you're slightly embarrassed at this point, because you thought about doing this and Wilbur just stepped into the space.
He's a sergeant, it's his job.
Fine.
Perfect. I'm a lieutenant, I have a sergeant. He's the one who shouts at the foot soldiers, not me.
Why have a dog and bark yourself? Absolutely. Arthur, what's your reaction when Sergeant Strauss lets this loose? It's like it's like someone's run a tannoy announcement across the what's your reaction, Arthur?
Gratefulness. Like he's relieved that there is somebody who's going to cut through all of this noise and chatter, and he's going to run towards it like a ship heading towards safe harbor. And
Sophia, what's your reaction to seeing this man draw himself up to his full Metropolitan Police height of 6 foot something and bellow across these soldiers?
I don't think that Sophia is impressed by sheer volume. She just accepts that this man might be a useful asset.
Fine. So, Wilbur, what additional advantage do you want from this? Because I have to say, the soldiers just freeze.
I think they're going to form an orderly queue now and give some good distance between them and the civilians. And I think the MPs are going to rush in and take good control of the situation.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's fine. No chance of these civilians being pushed into the sea by the mob. Unfortunately, you rolled a 6. On a 6, life gets complicated in this game. But you say what you see or realize that grants you an insight that's beyond human knowledge or a reminder of the horror of war. What do you see, Wilbur? There is a sudden reminder that this is proper war.
I think it's as these guys surged through the MPs, actually just in front of them were 4 stretcher bearers, and the mob have basically trampled these 4 guys who are on stretchers. The bearers had to let them go. Maybe one of them was actually tipped into the sea, and the Durant just sort of, in the waves smashes, and there's nothing left of this guy down the side of the ship. And that's the true horror of the escape from Dunkirk. It's starting to turn into mob rule, and therefore I needed to act.
That's delightful. Thank you. I think we've all got a picture of what Dunkirk is already like, and it's early days in the evacuation so far. That is a stressful perception. So would you make a stress roll, please, which means that you roll the white dice. Your stress is currently 1. If you exceed 1, your stress goes up by 1.
I did. I rolled 5.
Thank you. Well, if you'd increase your stress, that would be helpful. Okay. Through Sergeant Strauss's action, you can make a relatively orderly way down the mole as dawn begins to brighten. And that's when the Stukas attack. And you see behind you plumes of water rising around the Durant as dive bombers attempt to sink it. What else do you see that tells you that this is a fairly desperate evacuation? Shall we start with Philip?
Fairly desperate evacuation. I've seen the movie, but I have no greater knowledge. I think what we
lift
see
from the movie by all means.
I think what we see is some guy who is obviously wounded. He should maybe be on the boat, but he can't get on it, and he's given up. He's just sitting by the wayside, his head buried in his hands, and looks at the ship, tears streaming down his face, and there's this hopeless, like, I won't make it out of here. And he's a young guy, like 20 maybe, if that.
Thank you. Sophia, what do you see that demonstrates, because you've been reading the news reports, which is all about holding back the Nazi threat and an orderly retreat from Dunkirk. What's changing your perception of that?
I think it's the sound of what would we call it, like shrapnel, like a heavy artillery from the north that and the shells fall into the outskirts of the city.
Thank you. Yeah. So as dawn rises, the very heavy artillery is beginning to just sound off, and you're seeing distant explosions on the fringe of Dunkirk. Thank you. And Arthur, what do you see?
I just see the faces of desperate men trying to, hoping, like they've already consigned themselves. They either die on this beach or they get on that boat. And as I walk away from that, I think, well, what are my chances of getting back home?
Thank you. I've already got a picture of what rather put the wind at Wilbur. And as you make your way from the mole up to the promenade at Dunkirk, heading for a local command post, you'll see men being whipped into lines and being to wade out into the sea to wait for ships to come in because they can't rely on the mole anymore. And I'm just thinking that with a couple of minutes to the hour, this might be a point to make our first break. Yeah. So shall we say just time for a cup of tea and a trip to the bio break place? Shall we say back in our seats at 10 past the hour? Okay. I'll see you back here then. Oh, yes, belated happy birthday, Paul.
Thank you very much. Yes, I spent my day smashing down a garage.
What a treat.
I did have a digger, so it was good.
Oh, gosh. The garage at the back of the house?
Yeah, that's all gone.
What are
Not
you
much
going
of
to
that
do?
left.
Where are you going to keep the beer fridge?
No, I'm afraid that went. No more beer fridge.
Gosh, Paul.
So yeah, we're going to we've ordered a new shed from Austria, and we're going to get it all block paved. That area.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Right. So there won't be
As
room in
is
this
her
shed.
want.
Oh, I said it right. Vanessa has had her way, has she?
Indeed, yes. So yeah, no, they did a very nice metal shed, 25-year guarantee. So yeah, engineering that part of the world's pretty good. So yeah, we thought we'd go for it before Brexit kicked in on some date. We thought we'd get it shipped over before then.
Yeah. You try and claim your guarantee after the event. Anyway, I must be careful not to get on my political soapbox. So, Dunkirk, and you find your way to a command post in Dunkirk. Now, Philip, you and Wilbur will have orders to get the civilians up to your forward post, which is about 10 or 15 miles southeast of Dunkirk. It's through British-held ground, so that shouldn't be a problem. And I'm thinking probably somebody can put you on a truck. Would that do?
I am very fine with the truck, yes.
Okay. It's pretty hard going. It'll take you most of the day. What's in the way? Why is it taking so long, Wilbur?
I think just the amount of fleeing British Expeditionary Force troops, and also the local the French troops. They're basically barricading near enough every single road to try and bide some time for the British to escape. So yeah, basically, so blocked roads by troops or by French barricades.
Do you see any civilians, Sophia?
I would assume that they all hide in their houses. So you see signs of, I don't know, maybe the clothes on a line, hanging on a line, or discarded toys or something, but no actual civilians on the street itself.
Okay. What you do, Arthur, when you hear that roaring siren of a dive bomber?
I look over to the two soldiers who are with us, and I make sure that my helmet is strapped on closely, tightly.
Because you're in the back of the truck, all of you, so you can hear this noise, but you can't see much. What do you do?
Smoke?
Copiously.
Yes, well, it's the 30s. Nobody talks about cancer. I will offer smokes to everyone.
Arthur will take one. Take one.
Yeah. Arthur's already smoking one, and he takes a second one. But by the late afternoon, you will reach the Major Johnson's headquarters, company headquarters, behind C Company of the Battalion of the Grenadier Guards. What do you do, Philip? You've arrived at the command post. What do we see you doing in the movie?
in the movie, we will see me get out of the car, first checking if there is any reason not to, because there is some kind of gunfire or anybody throwing bombs at us from above. If there's not, I will jump out energetically. I will crack my spine a bit. Long time sitting in the wagon. And then, of course, I will offer to help Sophia get out of the car.
Okay. I've just spotted Sophia's illustration, and I think I am keen just for our listeners to get a sense of Sophia, because she is a striking individual. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I doubt she's dressed entirely like that at the moment, but it gives you a feel for the woman. Very grand lady. So yeah, you help her down. I suppose, Wilbur, you've been sent to Dunkirk with Lieutenant Blonde. So where he goes, you go at this point, or have you got other plans, having returned to the battalion?
I'm going to tell Sophia and Arthur. I'm going to say, food's not on for that much longer. Let's get ourselves to the chow tent.
I'm afraid I don't have much appetite.
No, Arthur looks a little bit uncertain there, doesn't he?
You don't know when your next meal will be, lad. This could be your last one.
Good point.
And the hard truth is, who could turn down a suggestion from this individual when telling you what you really ought to do?
I hear they got babies' heads on. There ain't nothing better than a baby's head.
Does Arthur, Sophia, what's your reaction when recommended to eat the baby's head?
Arthur chuckles nervously.
When the eyes flutter, if somebody says something completely obnoxious, that's her reaction. She has contempt for the lower classes in general, and for the brutish type that Sergeant Strauss represents in particular.
I think that's beginning to set up some of the questions I have to ask you shortly. Okay, so Arthur's going to grab something to eat. So is Sophia. Philip, are you going to join them, or are you heading off to report that you're back in camp, so to speak?
No, I will find somebody to do that.
Fine.
Just send a runner to whoever's in charge, say that we are here, that we are preparing for our mission, and then I will find actually something to eat, because I need to keep my strength up. Also sitting in the. Also, I want to talk or have a conversation with Sophia. She seems an educated woman, and I'm keen to talk to somebody who has a bit of appreciation for the finer arts.
So do you take her to the officers' mess, I'm guessing? Because my working assumption is that, I don't know whether it's like this now, but back in the day, I think that there would have been separate lines for officers to eat and enlisted men. So Sergeant Strauss takes Arthur off to one long queue, and you go to a tent for where you're served by a Batman, perhaps,
Yes.
an officer servant.
Yes,
so let's
please.
have that scene inside this canvas canteen.
Well, I will first apologize to Sophia for the accommodations. They are a bit common, I'm afraid, but such is the price of war.
Lieutenant, I know that we are fighting a war, and that we all have to make our sacrifices. And she looks around and says, so, how long have you been in the war, my dear friend?
I have been in the war since it started, actually. And I will give you some vague specifications, what I can tell without breaking any kind of confidentiality. I have no idea where I would have been, but I think Philip does.
Yeah, and Sophia's not really listening at all. She was not expecting an answer or interested in the answer.
I think he will notice that, and then he will return maybe the question and ask, have you been working with the Persuadens for a long time?
Not for a long time, no. The war surprised my family, and we found ourselves in exile, without a country. And as a patriotic Pole, it is my duty to make sure that we get our country back. But no, it's I'm very inexperienced in these matters.
Oh well, we will. I do not believe that this is a very hard mission, considering.
So, what do you fight for then?
Well, I am a member of the British military. I fight for God and country and my king.
And I think Sophia smiles for the first time, and puts her hand on his arm and says, "The greatest cause, indeed."
Yes. Oh, you can see that he's wearing a wedding band. He's married. Not just saying, because I think that when you put your hand on his arm, you will notice that.
Is Sophia wearing her wedding band? I mean, we know that that she is married, but unhappily, but her objection to divorce, does that carry through to her objection to removing her wedding ring?
Yeah, she has definitely removed her wedding ring, but she does wear a silver cross around her neck.
And with that little vignette, is that seen? Okay. Meanwhile, in the long queue for the enlisted men's food, what exchange do we see between Sergeant Strauss and Arthur Blake?
I think Arthur is following closely in the footsteps of Sergeant Strauss, peering around him, trying to relax a little bit. So have you been here longer, Sergeant?
Too bloody long, mister. Too bloody long, mister. Yeah, it's a terrible thing, this war. Terrible thing indeed. There we are.
Yes.
We'd knocked these Germans right back, and it's all gone wrong, hasn't it?
Yes, I don't think anyone expected the Germans to have quite such a good show of things. But
ballsy little demons they are. That's what they are.
Yes. Well, once we're off this beach and we make it back home, we can push back. I'm sure.
Hopefully you're right. Back in time for tea and medals.
Yes,
that's what we want. Still, when we get to the front of the line, just follow me.
You seem to know what you're about, Sergeant. I will follow in your footsteps.
Keep with me, and I'll keep you safe, lad. As we go down the meal line, basically, whatever sort of dry food is available, I'll basically be, if the chefs aren't looking, quickly tucking a bit of dry food, maybe a bit of fruit, some biscuits, something like that, into my coat, into my satchel, and thanking the chefs when they are looking in my direction.
Can I just suggest that you shove a pair of bread rolls directly into Blake's pockets when he's like, oh.
I'll definitely be you clearly thievery is not the order of the game for you, so a bit of extra space in there. Yeah, I'll thank the chefs, and then I'll turn to Arthur and say, hardest course in the British Army, that is, chefing. Nobody's passed it yet. Look at the quality of that food. Disgusting.
All right, beats the canteen down at Oxford, I'm sure.
I wouldn't know about that. Apart from here, never left London. No reason to.
Scene?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is the end of the scene.
Thank you. And so we'll cut then to company headquarters tent, where Major Johnson dismisses the company clerk, so that just the four of you and he are in the tent. And he takes an envelope out of his battle dress, and he says, "I have to say, this is some bloody silly stuff. It says here that I'm to get you two to some godforsaken village behind enemy lines, and to render all possible assistance. What the bloody hell's going on?"
I'm afraid that's need to know information, and I think Arthur's composure is finally solidifying into something less like on edge and fraught as he enters into a more kind of like formal conversation with a superior. If I could tell you, Major, I would tell you, but all the time allowed to share with you is that we have an asset that we must retrieve from Messagum. And your orders are as follows. I have my own orders.
What do you make of them, Blonde? You spent a day with the buggers.
Well, there are orders and we should follow them. It's not for me to say what the reasons here are. If there is an asset, we need to recover it.
All right. You're it then, Blonde. Strauss, you will go with him. I'll let you have a section. And when we kick off the advance tomorrow, you two, you stay absolutely tight with Lieutenant Blonde and Sergeant Strauss. Once they get you to Messagen, well, then we'll see what happens. That's what my orders require, and that's what I'll do. But I will not risk my company for some half-assed bloody escapade. Is that entirely clear, Mr. Blake?
I want all of our boys to make it home as well, Major.
Yes, well, that's not going to bloody happen, is it?
No, but as many as we can. And that includes our asset in Messagum.
Yes, well, not at the cost of my men. I notice you don't wear any insignia of rank. Bloody silly cloak and dagger bloody stuff.
You'll have to take it up with His Majesty.
Oh, don't you play the silly bugger with me, young man. And I have to say, Miss, I'm very concerned about sending you to the front line with where God knows what we're going to come across. Are you entirely certain that you have to go along with this, Miss? He's addressing Sophia.
I overheard a couple of your men, maybe not your men, but British soldiers, and they said they were lions led by donkeys. I think they referred to themselves as lions. So I trust their expertise, I guess.
I think that this is an opportunity for me to determine how relationships with Major Johnson proceed over the next 24 hours. So, Sophia, are you wanting to put him in his place? Is that your objective here?
Yeah, he's a rude person that should be aware that he is in the presence of nobility and act accordingly.
Okay, well then, I think that I mean, clearly you have dealt with people before, so your background would give you expertise. Do you want to risk stress, or are you just going to roll the 2 dice?
I risk the stress.
That's what we like to see. Thank you. Off you go.
Stress, expertise, and the normal die. That is a 5. You're muted.
You'll see in the basic rules, you succeed with no obvious complications or benefit. Major Johnson gives you a very long look. And then, dismiss, blonde. They're yours now. Do your best for them, I suppose.
I will do the best for king and country, sir.
And I think he's about to say, "Don't you bloody start as well, blonde." But I don't think. I think he bites his tongue, given that Sophia has just made him aware of there's a social nicety going on here. Bloody grammar school boy. So unless you have anything else you want to do in camp, I'm inclined to cut to H hour, dawn the following morning, and the advance of the Grenadiers.
Should we choose our loadouts?
Good point. I suppose my question initially is there any other scene you want? Okay. This hack of Cthulhu Dark makes use of equipment rules lifted almost kind of, embarrassingly whole from Forged in the Dark games. So what I need you to do is simply to tell me, or to mark on your character sheet, whether you are light, medium, or heavily loaded. Heavily loaded makes you slow. Medium loaded is normal, inverted commas. Light loaded means that you are, more agile in the field. And then you can worry about exactly what that load looks like as we play. So Arthur has gone for medium load, Sophia for light, Sergeant Strauss has gone for heavy, and Lieutenant Blonde. You can see below that section.
Yeah, I've gone for medium load. I've found it.
Okay.
I've put my mark down.
Now, I guess that Sophia and Arthur.
Oh, forget it. I'm going for heavy load. We're not trying to pass as civilians or anything.
No.
Good call, Lieutenant.
So you'll see below the relative spaces that the different equipment takes up. There are 3 spaces at the bottom of the sheet where you can put other stuff in. So tell me if and when you define some stuff that's not in that kind of indicative list. So it's dawn. You are equipped. We know that Arthur is in an unadorned military uniform, and I think we know that Sophia is in civvies. Have I got that right? Fine. Blonde and Strauss are, of course, in uniform because they're serving soldiers. So, how many slots does an elder sign take? Good question. It is worth just commenting on this. I think that with a combination of educated advisor and the allure of the blasphemous unknown, I think it is possible that Arthur has some invocations at his disposal. Yeah, because the Confront the Mythos and its minions has an option to spend stress and cast a spell, in effect. So I think, unless anybody else has got, I'm struggling to see how anybody else is going to have experience of that. But I think that probably Arthur, if push comes to shove, you might be able to conjure something nasty. Does that seem fair?
I mean, that's everything I wanted and more from playing the educated advisor directly from the pursuivants.
Fine. Okay. Because certainly Mr. Turing's work on Enochian runes at Bletchley Park is yielding some fascinating results, actually. So, dawn, pre-dawn, an artillery bombardment, firing south and southeast in the access of the Grenadiers' advance. And I think probably, Blonde, you probably have some mobility. Probably one of those kind of tin can universal tracked carriers from this point of the war, which is literally a tin can with a couple of tracks that holds about 4 or 5 people. So let's assume that you've got a bit of mobility. But Johnson has deliberately kept you behind the sharp end. So your platoon will be going in without you. A section has been kept back as an escort for you and your visitors, and you will follow up rather than be at the sharp end, unless you choose to do something else, Lieutenant.
You have lost me here a bit with all this military jargon. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. So your platoon, the one you normally command, is in the front line and will be advancing behind this artillery.
Okay.
This bombardment. Johnson has deliberately kept you and a section of half a dozen men back so that you can follow up with your visitors. Or unless you want to make, go.
But I could go to the front and rejoin my visitors later, right?
Oh, you could, though your orders are to escort them.
Yeah, my orders are to escort them, but I can't escort them when I'm in front of the platoon and they are in the back. That's still escorting.
Okay.
I believe that still counts as escorting, and I don't want to leave my voice without their commanding officer. That's not right.
Okay, so very, very subtly, you take command of the platoon again without necessarily telling Major Johnson that, and your visitor. No, exactly, and your visitors are now rather closer to the front line than they might.
No, I don't want to take them with me. They can stay in the back with Sergeant Strauss.
Oh,
and then rejoin me when we will break off from the platoon.
Okay, Sarge, you in a section, yes?
Sounds good. Let's shit or get off the pot.
So the Grenadiers launch their advance. It makes some striking gains initially. It catches Army Group B on the back foot. No one was on the German side was expecting the British to advance at this point. And so they make good ground. They make 5 miles or so in fairly short order. However, the line of the attack is along with a canal on your right-hand side. Lieutenant, what do you do when you see a column of civilians coming down the road towards you as you advance?
I guess let them pass in some way. I mean, I can't shoot them, so
you give them priority.
Damn, I shouldn't, right? I mean, is there fighting going on while we advance? Because I've got the feeling that it's not.
At the moment, no, because you've caught the Germans on the back foot.
Okay, then I won't let them pass. Then we go first because there is no immediate danger to them, and then they can wait for us to pass.
Okay, so at the front of your platoon, you are ushering them gently into the ditch on the side of the road.
Yes, I ask them to give us the right of the way. I mean, I'm Eton educated. I do know French very well, so I will tell them that I will ask them politely but firmly to let us pass because we have an important mission and we need to fight their enemies and shoot them dead. And if they would give us right of way, then that would also ensure that they can't be shot by the enemies.
The man at the front of the column says, the Germans are behind us. You have to let us through. You can't stop us here. And his wife and the crying baby just behind him.
Yes, that is why you should give us right of way. Go into the ditch. You will be safer there anyway.
Okay, let's see how effective you are. Would you like to roll the white dice? I think
Yes.
probably a hard-eyed commando.
Yeah.
It probably has expertise in this because you are hard-eyed.
And because I'm Eton,
Yes.
so I come from Eton. I come from, well, I have a 6, so yeah. Please.
So you do, but I have to say that as the platoon advances, some of your men are less gentle, and you see them forcing hand carts into the ditch. You see things being spilled. Now you rolled a 6, so what is it specifically that hits home at you that, despite your apparent reasonableness, these people are now in greater danger than they were?
I think it's the fact that they have actually wounded with them. They are back in the back of the column because the healthy ones and the ones with children go first, but the wounded ones, and they are recently wounded, and some of them getting pushed into the ditch, that's not gonna help them at all. And I see one man who's limping and his leg just shatters as he drops down and he starts crying out, and somebody else just kicks him in the face just to stop him crying, because it's not helping anyone.
I think that's a really nice, powerful scene, and I think it's worth a stress roll.
Oh, okay.
Because you rolled a 6, didn't you? You did that so well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my stress goes up.
Meanwhile, at the back of the platoon, probably near a company HQ, Sarge, you and your visitors in your universal carrier are having a pretty easy time of it, to be honest. German air support is beginning to kick in and beginning to pound and strafe the front of the battalion, but in your rear position, you're relatively safe. What do we see the three of you doing at this point in the advance?
I think Blake is reading through his notes and his briefing and shuffling papers from side to side as he sits in the carrier.
Sorry,
I think
Sophia. Sophia first. I'll come to Wilbur last.
I think Sophia is also reading. Probably she has a very small leather-bound Bible in Latin, obviously.
Fine. Wilbur, what about you?
I think I'll be singing some sort of like Cockney song, a bit of roll out the barrel as we advance down the road. Keeping an eye on civilians that we're just clearly cutting our way through.
Yeah. And that's when there's an attack from a pocket of Germans who have been bypassed by the advance. What do you do, Wilbur, when fire is incoming from a hedge line about 50 yards to your left? Wilbur, did you hear?
Yep, sorry. I'll shout back. This tin can we're driving, is it canvas covered, open top?
It's open topped but armored sided.
Okay, I'll shout back to Arthur and say pick up my Bren gun and start returning fire.
Well, Arthur, there's this big gun in the back of the carrier. What do you do?
Try my best to haul it up and try and think back to my the basic training that I went through.
Yeah. So this is a heavy weapon, but you don't have heavy weapon expertise. So you simply roll the 6-sided, the white dice, unless you want to include stress.
I mean, I think I want to include stress, right?
What's your intention?
I think to I remember suppressing fire.
Okay.
And my intention is to just fill the air where the gunshots are coming from, fill the air with bullets to keep their heads down so that the rest of our unit can, flank, get out of the way of the fire, etc.
And unfortunately, most of your unit is in front of you. What you've got is a lorry full of cooks and the company mess, but not a lot of fighting men, because you're at the rear of the battalion. So I'm not sure where the flank's going to come from, but certainly try suppressing fire.
Well, that was
you
a
have
4.
expertise. Yeah, okay. So 4, and your stress dice was the highest.
It was, yes. So
we'll roll for stress in a moment. But you do, to everyone's general amazement, manage to get some. You succeed with no obvious complications or benefits. But I am going to make you roll that failure dice, the first failure dice, because you've just put your head above the parapet.
That's a 5.
Which exceeds your stress. So you take a point of stress from, I think, well, you tell me, incoming fire. Do you actually get a bit of a grazing bullet wound? Or is it just a nasty shock?
I think that what it actually is I just hurt myself while I'm using the unfamiliar heavy weaponry. Like
Bruised shoulder.
No, more like the the hot brass shell lands on my face or something like that.
Okay. Okay. So you do suppress the fire. You do take a little bit of damage, but you also need to roll for stress, please.
Okay. So should I reroll my stress?
Yes, please.
And unsurprisingly, I gain more stress. So there I am at 3. I will have to be using some of those get rid of stress moves soon.
You might. You might. Zofia, what do we see you doing?
I think she had put her gloved hands over her ears when, because it's a confined space and a very loud gun, obviously. And after the shooting is over, she gets a handkerchief out, spits on it, and rubs it on the place where the hot shell hit Mr. Blake's face.
Thank you. Sarge, what's your intention?
Drive through. So while he's forced the Germans to get their heads down, I'm going to put my pedal to the metal and try and drive out of this situation.
Let me see how well that goes. I think that, you're an experienced soldier, so you have expertise.
Okay, here we go. 2 dice. 4 and a 3.
Yeah, no, nothing complicated, no particular benefit. You get clear of that attack, and I think so does the company mess, which is a great relief to everyone. And by mid-afternoon, the advance is slowing down. Now, you've seen the map showing where you're at. Wait a moment. That's what I wanted to do. So you've made an advance up this line of the canal to about here, Ypres. But it's clear that the advance is slowing down. And you are soon coming up to the line where Lieutenant Blonde has dug in his platoon to try and hold ground just south of Ypres. And that's when I think probably the 4 of you come back together with Major Johnson. Because Johnson will summon Lieutenant Blonde back to Company HQ with some hard news, which is that it's gone all right, but we're never going to get a message in today. So, Blonde, I can't order you to do this, but I'm asking you whether you'll go forward, whether you'll try to help these 2 get as far as Messigan.
Of course.
Right. Take Strauss. I can't spare anybody else.
That's fine. He's a fine man. He's a good man.
you'll be on your own, and you'll be behind enemy lines. My advice would be to wait till dusk and then make a break for it. But it's only advice, Blonde. This is all on you now.
Yes, thank you for the confidence, sir.
And so what I
Good
need
luck.
to understand, and to you, Blonde, and to you. And as you leave the tent with Sophia and Arthur, you hear him say under his breath, "Bugger me, you'll need it." And so we have the four of you. As dusk arrives, there's desultory firing back and forth from your trench line where you've dug in. And the Germans are holding a copse of woods about 800 meters ahead of you. You need to get past them. What's the plan?
Well, since it's only the two of us, I think just blowing everything up might be less than advisable. I guess what we need is maybe a distraction and then sneak past them. What do you think, Sergeant?
I think a distraction is definitely the way to go. Maybe we could ask some of the guys on the line to start firing off some mortars.
Yes, I can ask
yeah.
some guys from my platoon to start a distraction there, so we can go past them. Do we wait till dusk, or do we go in the night?
I'd advise that we definitely wait for darkness.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a good idea. So I'll go and ask some of my guys to start that distraction, like fire at something near the cops or at the cops, and we will go the other way around.
So, any other suggestions, or is that how it's going to play out?
I think I personally defer to the soldiers in all senses.
The landscape, are we talking sort of very flat, a lot of drainage ditches, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think there probably are. I think it's very flat, but I think there are drainage ditches. There's a canal on your right running in the direction you want to go, and the copse is ahead and to the left, and that's where the German line is. Yeah.
Well, I'll suggest to the lieutenant that we try and spend as much time in the ditches as we can to offer some protection to the civilians.
Yes, sounds advisable. We'll do
Okay.
that.
Lieutenant,
Yes.
do you think it makes more sense to change your clothes to, civilian clothes? We will be the enemy lines.
We will be spotted, yes, and but the truth is we will be carrying arms, and we're heavily equipped. So whether we wear British uniforms or other uniforms, I suspect we will get shot at anyway.
That is true, but you could also get rid of the guns in a desperate situation. I mean, we are not in an open conflict behind enemy lines. We will have to sneak anyways, and I could maybe be of help with my language skills. Not when I'm accompanied.
I think that's pretty bad. We'd lose any kind of prisoner of war status if we were wearing civilian clothes.
Yes, I'm not willing to let go of my uniform just yet.
I have to inform you that we are spies in any case.
No, we're not. We're soldiers. That's how the Germans will treat us.
That is
right now, Miss Sophia. I would not trust that the Germans would treat any civilians running around just behind enemy lines as non-combatants. In the heat of war, we'd just be another inconvenience, even if we were what we claim to be.
I don't trust the Germans to treat you as prisoners of war, wearing a uniform or not, to be honest. But
that's not why I'm wearing the uniform.
I think it's better if we can shoot back, personally.
Yes. Yes, let us go and see where we go, and if the spying business makes it more advisable to don more civilian clothes, I think we will take them with us.
Yes.
Well, remember, mechanical point, just step out of the action for a moment. You can define one of the things you're carrying as civilian clothes with a necessity to arrive. So you don't have to make that decision now. You can decide to allocate some load to that later on if you wanted to. Yeah. So I think we've sorted that conversation out. And so, Sarge, I think it's your section that has the mortar. So go over there and make sure they get it bloody right.
Yep, I'll because they're quite young, inexperienced privates. There's only one decent full screw in that section. So yeah, I'll give them some orders and an exact time when they need to fire, rate of fire, how many rounds to lay down, and the general area they need to lay down the fire.
Let's determine if your command and control is up to snuff, Strauss. So you have expertise in this, because an NCO, intimidation, heavy weapons, and survival. I think that you can intimidate a bit to in this context to make sure they get it right.
Okay, 2 dice. Here we go. 4 and a 2.
So that's a 4. You can see at the point that you've defined on the dot, mortar rounds begin to impact at the far end of that copse. That should be keeping the Germans' heads down. I think probably Lieutenant Blonde, this is about infiltration, isn't it? Getting across their lines using those drainage ditches?
I guess so, yes.
Go for it.
Yeah, I go for it. That is expertise and the white die. Let's see how that. Oh yes, I've got a 6 again.
Yeah, you'll begin to wish you're not getting 6s shortly, out of suspicion.
Yes.
So you get the 2 civilians and Sergeant Strauss via a couple of drainage ditches. You're level with the copse line. You can see another drainage ditch just ahead of you that will put you past the German lines and give you probably some cover for another 800 meters. Because you rolled a 6, would you like to define an advantage?
An advantage? Oh, advantages are great. I think advantage. Well, you already said that when we have to leave the canal, we have some cover. Advantage. Maybe we have the opportunity to steal a car of some sort.
There's a German Kubelwagen.
Now we can
sitting
do that.
Behind their own company HQ, apparently unattended.
Amazing.
We'll come back to that in a moment. Because you rolled a 6, this is a little stressful. What stresses you about these events?
I think when we go along the canal and there's still a little light, but not a lot, I noticed that it's not just the canal. There are some ditches that go into the canal, right? And in one of the ditches, there are bodies, not just one, quite a lot. And I will try to steer everybody else so that they don't have to see these people lying there.
That's great. Would you roll your stress dice, please?
It's just dead people. Guess I've seen too many of these lately. Yeah, take stress.
Okay. So that takes you up to 3, I think, does it?
Yeah, it does.
So there's the Kubelwagen. Who's best equipped to lift this German Jeep. I'm just looking across the skill sets, and I'm seeing tradecraft, Sophia, because I doubt there's a key in there.
Well, Sophia likes to drive cars, so she would be delighted to steal a Kübelwagen from the Germans.
Okay, well, what do we see then? Do we see Sophia getting the car, or do we see everyone going to the car and Sophia doing the hard lifting, the heavy lifting? What do I see in the movie?
Yeah. So did you just say that the key is not in the car? No,
it's not. It's not. So she's going to have to hotwire this, come what may.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious whether she's going to get the car on her own and then rendezvous up the road, or whether everyone's going to the Jeep.
Yeah, I think it is much more dramatic if everybody's in the car. She hunches down under the steering wheel, rips the cover off, combines the wires, and well, let's see what happens. So that's the normal die and the expertise, and I get a stress die as well for shits and giggles. Let's see. That is a 5, and the stress die is equal the normal die. Is that?
I keep changing this rule. So equal to or greater than, then roll for stress. So you do succeed. We see you. You can see probably a sentry just silhouetted against the mortar explosions. His attention is in that direction, and the noise of the mortar probably just allows you to drive away reasonably comfortably. But what is it that is going to generate a bit of stress for Sophia, or might generate some stress for Sophia?
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that there's like a connecting the right wires. It's the typical movie trope that she tries and tries and tries to start the car, and at the last moment before the sentry would look our way, she managed to ignite the thing.
Fine. Roll for stress.
Oh, that is a 1.
She is one cool cookie. And in the Kübelwagen, you make very good time. You've got a map, Lieutenant, so you can see that this road will run alongside the canal, and then where it joins the river, on the other side of which is Messingen, you can see that there's a bridge up ahead on the map. So you will be almost in sight of Messingen, within 30 minutes, in the Jeep. What do? There's not a lot of cover here. It's fairly flat. There's a couple of barns alongside the road. What do?
How big is this village?
Hang on. I think I might even have a map of it. Let me put it there. Insert image. Excuse me a moment. There it is. If you look on the mission tab, shortly, a map should appear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now it's dark, so you won't have all of that. but it gives you a sense that this is not a vast village. This is really a very small hamlet practically.
Okay.
But do you see where the number 1 is?
No, I don't see the map. But
Is it not there?
No, I see the Dunkirk bridgehead. Or wait, no, I'm at briefing. I should go to the mission.
Mission, yeah.
Yes, mission. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see where the number 1 and 2 is.
Yes.
There is a barn just off the top of that map. But I think it's fair to say that the buildings that have been shelled, which are labeled 3 on the map, are aflame. And in the light of those burning houses, you can see that the bridge has been blown up.
Okay.
So what do you do with the Jeep, with the Kugelwagen?
I think we'll just park it at the barn, behind the barn, so that it's not totally visible. And then we have to get across the river, I guess.
Time flies when I'm enjoying myself, and another hour has passed. Can I suggest a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Okay, see you in 5.
Fine.
Okay, and we're back in the room. So you have you can see messaging through with via the burning houses here. You are located off the top of this map. What's the plan?
Well, yeah, we have to cross the river. Guess that's the first order of business. Do you all know how to swim?
Yes, but is it really a good idea to try and swim with all of our gear?
Do you have another way to cross a river when the bridge is blown up?
Is there not maybe a point we could ford?
Well, I have no knowledge of such a point, but if you do, please inform us.
I do believe in training they mentioned this thing called scouting.
Oh.
But I will defer to those with field experience.
The city, this village is under attack. We are looking for your asset. You tell me if we have the time to go scouting in the middle of the night for a fort.
At that point in the conversation, you notice torchlight inside the barn. What do you do?
You could scout that. Or we could.
If you feel that swimming across the river is the best way, then let's swim across the river. I agree that time is of the essence. And
what about the light in the barn? Like,
for all I know, that is our asset.
Yeah, but the barn is on this side of the river. Or am I wrong here? The barn is where we park the car, right?
Yes, north of, or I think technically
so the barn is
west of the river. Yeah.
Okay, so the barn's on our side of the river. Right?
I do want to stress again, that we don't know whether Wotan is still here.
Technical issue. The briefing said last message received from the vicinity of Messigan.
Yeah. Yes, we don't have to cross the river to get to the barn, right? Okay, cool. So, no need to cross the river. Go and look at the barn.
I'll go round the back of the barn, covering any escape routes, just in case it's not our asset.
Fine.
Nice. Okay. So,
Zofia, what's your part in this?
I think Zofia draws a revolver and follows Sergeant Strauss.
Okay, since I'm the one skilled in infiltration, I will attempt to infiltrate the barn by quietly walking up to it and trying to look between some of the things the barn is built of. What's the name of that?
Planks? I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, no, that's fine.
I won't make you roll for that because I think you should have no, because as you get closer to the barn, you realize that there are raised voices inside.
Oh, cool.
And when you peer through a crack in the wooden wall, you can see two civilians, one of whom is armed, haranguing what looks like an extended family group.
In what language are they haranguing?
They're speaking in Belgian French, I guess, which will be no problem for Philip to decode. And the man with the gun is saying, hand it over now. What do you do?
Well, I don't like people haranguing other people, so let's get involved here because this is my final, my only appearance. So why be cautious? I will then go to the door, kick it open, threaten everybody with my gun, and say, "Hey, good bonjour, mesdames et messieurs."
What's your intention here? What do you want? What's your perfect outcome?
My perfect outcome is that I have control of the situation, that these guys with weapons, that they think, oh, wow, there's a British soldier. He's probably not alone in enemy territory, and that they will drop their weapons.
Fine. Let's just see how well that goes. I think that the hard-eyed commando in uniform gives you expertise in this circumstance.
Cool. Let's please not roll a 6, yeah? Well, no, I rolled a 6.
Wow. Philip is just roaring towards an unfortunate end. Okay, so the man with the gun turns, and it looks, the color drains from his face in the light of a lantern and a torch, and he drops the gun and puts his hands up. Belgian, he says.
Good. Very nice. I'm waiting for Arthur maybe to catch up, because I have no idea what his asset looks like, or what. I mean, I know that it's a person, but.
Okay, Arthur.
So Arthur will catch up, holding his revolver in his hand, and he will say in his rather stilted French, because he spent more time studying older languages, and he'll take a look at the women in here. I imagine that they are not asset Wotan.
So you've got a slightly grainy identity card picture of Agatha Marsham in your pocket, and there are several women in this group, but none of them resemble her.
I ask if anyone knows a Agatha Marsham, a Belgian archaeologist who was in the area.
There's kind of no, but one of the women rushes up to Philip and says, "Thank God, these men were robbing us. Thank you for saving us. Are the British coming?"
Well, we're on. Not exactly.
And the kind, you can see that the hint of joy that was in her eyes just disappears, and she says, "Oh,
I'm sorry."
Arthur will look towards the men, and are they? I suppose they are Belgian soldiers who have been caught behind.
They're not in uniform; they're in civvies.
Yeah. Okay.
The guy with the weapon is also a civilian, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think probably Sophia and Wilbur, you will have heard Philip, demanding people drop their weapons inside the barn. What do you do?
Sophia will be behind Wilbur, definitely, and wait for his action.
The common people have their place, Wilbur. What do you do?
So rear exit out the barn. Yeah, I'll just get down in a ditch, and I won't take up a fire position so it will shoot into the barn. I want one that will go against the barn. So basically, if some people come running out, I can cut them down without firing into the barn.
Okay. So back inside the barn, this woman and her husband are now shepherding their family, grandparents, younger sister with a baby, and they're shepherding them out of the barn to continue their journey away from the front, away from the Germans. What do you do with the two men, one of whom dropped a gun and still has his hands up?
Gentlemen, you know the village nearby, Messigan?
Yes.
Yes. Now the bridge is out. Do you know of a good way to get across?
You can't drive across it, but there are still some girders that you might be able to walk across if you were lucky.
And do you know if there are any Germans stationed here?
The Germans are the other side of the village. Maybe 800 meters.
And are you local, boys?
Well, yes, but we found the gun, and we need to escape as well, and we don't have any money.
Yes,
What good will money do?
but robbing people is not the way to go here. War is hard, but you cannot take money from those weaker than you.
Yeah, I understand, sir. I'm terribly sorry.
Listen. And he will reach into his pouch and he will bring out a small, like, wallet of, French francs, I suppose. I have been so long since the euro's been around. I've literally forgotten what all of the Belgian and things coins were. Belgian francs. Yes, yeah, Belgian francs and French francs. And he will shake it and say, "You can have money, and you can serve your country. You'll help us get into Mexican, and we'll cut you loose, and you'll go off with your paycheck."
You want us to go back into the village?
I want you to show us into the village, yes.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know.
Look, sir, you can be an asset for us, or you can be a plunderer and a robber. I mean, it's your choice.
What's the penalty for looting again, Lieutenant?
During wartime.
Yes, I believe it's death by firing squad, correct?
I'm gripping my weapon a little harder and just not.
So has this gone from reasoned argument into intimidation?
No, I think that's just a factor of reasoned argument. This is just another reason, right?
Okay.
Still reasonable.
So good cop, bad cop. Okay. Then Arthur, let's roll some dice for whether that reasoned argument is convincing.
I don't know whether to put my stress in there or not. I'm already at 3, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get an opportunity to get rid of it anytime soon. I'm not going to put stress in. 6.
I'm seeing 1s across the board at my end. Am I right?
But it's done that stupid thing where it rolls it and it stops.
And then it thinks
suddenly
again.
Switches it again, yeah. And it's like I had 1 and a 6, and then it changed to 1 and 1 and 1.
So on a 1, you barely succeed, and the GM may exact a cost or offer you a hard choice. I think the cost is that they want paying in advance.
That's fine. I'll pay them in advance.
Fine. Hand over the money, and they say, well, come this way then.
Okay. We will signal to our friends, I guess, and we'll. Yeah. Does that all sound good to everybody?
Okay. Cool. He'll lead you down from the barn. Whoops, Daisy. Sorry. To show, to this point here, where clearly there was some British vehicle park here. There's lots of abandoned vehicles, abandoned in the retreat, and he'll take you through that to this point at the bridge here, and then they both run for it. What do you do?
I look over at the Lieutenant and say, may as well let them go, yes?
Yeah. Yes, they were desperate. I don't think they are really bad people.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just struggling to get that. Oh, sorry, that's what I was talking. So yeah, we see you then back at the bridge. There are indeed a couple of girders running across the open water below. In the darkness and the burning houses, you can see a church with a spire, which is number 4 on your map. One of the burning houses illuminates a British tank 5 that is run into a building, and the rest of the village looks in looks in darkness, looks abandoned. So where 6 is, that's all very quiet. So what do we see you doing?
I'm not sure who's taking point, but Sophia will definitely try to, I don't know, climb from the one structure to the next. Not sure if she's the first, though.
I think one of the soldiers should be taking point, and I will, of course, because I'm that kind of guy.
I thought you were just going to order Strauss across.
No. I mean, he's a no. How would I do that?
Can I suggest, Lieutenant, that we all rope ourselves together, and you at the head, you can use your para rope belt to lash around a girder. So basically, you won't get pulled off. You'll get held fast. But then, if somebody does fall, you know, they won't be swept downstream.
Yes.
I think this counts as reconnaissance and infiltration, Lieutenant Blonde. So go ahead. Let's see if anything awful happens.
Let's see if anything awful. Probably. I have a 4, which means nothing awful happens.
Nothing awful. And so we see you on the far bank with these burning houses still ahead of you, illuminating the church and its spire. Up the way, you can see a damaged British tank, and then the rest of the village in quiet. But in the distance, on the far side of the village, you can probably hear some vehicle noise from a German unit. What do you do?
Can I suggest, Lieutenant, that we get into one of these damaged buildings and sort of set up a observation point, somewhere to get out of the weather?
The church spire would be an ideal observation point if you were interested in it.
Could go up the spire. We would have a better look, better overview of the grounds here. But the question is, what do our 2 companions want to do? Because we're here to get your asset.
I think Wotan, she had a field radio kit, and the tower seems the most logical place to deploy in the area.
Okay. Isn't it curious, friends, that the church will protect us again?
Blake just smiles and that's about getting his gear ready.
I don't understand what's so curious about it, but good on the church, I guess.
So we see you in the church. Who are all? Are you all going up into the tower, or what?
Is the church 4 on the map? Is it?
I think it is. Yes.
Okay, I'll tell the lieutenant that I'm going to go and investigate the tank. That could pose quite a threat.
It's a British tank. It looks like an abandoned British tank, but yeah, by all means. So everybody else is in the church. What happens next?
Sophia's not going up the spire. She goes to the altar, kneels down and prays.
When you go into the church, it looks like most of the village has sought refuge here. So it's quite crowded. There might be 50, 60 people, many of whom are praying. Sophia, what do you do?
While she's trying to, to advance to the altar, she obviously, eyes the inhabitants, like the people in the church, and trying to spot Wotan.
Okay. Lieutenant Blonde, what about you and then Arthur?
I think I'm going up the spire just to get an overview about the enemy forces. I think Arthur and Sophia will be fine down here.
Okay. Arthur?
I call out, Wotan? And I start asking the Belgian civilians if they have seen a young lady. I'm looking for my dear cousin.
Okay. Let's while that's going on, can we cut to Sergeant Strauss and this abandoned Matilda tank. What do we see you doing, Strauss?
I'm just going to generally sort of case round it first. Clearly, it's sort of, what is it, half in a building?
Yeah, it looks like it ran into the front of the building and then was abandoned.
Okay.
Whether by accident or design obviously isn't clear.
So generally walking around of it, has it been hit? Has it just thrown a track?
It looks like it's thrown a track.
Okay. Is it repairable?
It probably is, but you'll need daylight, I would have thought.
Okay. So if it's just blown a track, could the turret be rotated where it is? As in, is it operational? It just doesn't move.
I think in the dark, short of getting in it and trying it, it's difficult to tell, because I don't think you've got any particular expertise in this.
No, I don't think so.
So I think at this point, what I can tell you is it's thrown a track. It's been abandoned rather than blown up, and probably lost the track, skewed into the building, and the crew bailed out. That would be the logical kind of what's gone on here. Yeah.
Okay. On that description, I'm quite happy to actually climb on the tank and have a look in the turret. Fine.
Meanwhile, back in the church, I think Arthur, this is an investigate role actually. So would you like to investigate?
Sure. I don't believe any of my skills really be useful here.
I'm not really seeing it. No, I'm not really seeing it. I think, to be honest,
researching the crowd for.
Nah, I don't think that's what research means in this context.
No,
so I think you're down to
yeah.
the white dice with the option on the stress dice.
Well, I will take the option on the stress dice because this seems important. It'll
Go
be
ahead.
one session going mad. No, because I'm crap. It's happening what happened in Knights Black Operators, and I am failing every dice roll.
So that's a 1 and a 2.
Yes.
Muted myself. On a 2, you get the bare minimum amount of information you need to proceed, which is a woman comes up to you and points at the kind of vestry wherever at the back of the church behind a door, but nothing else. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you and Sophia do?
Just before we move on, because my stress dice was the highest dice.
I beg your pardon. Yeah, please do roll for stress.
Yep. Watch this be a 6 now. Oh, it's a 1. Yay! The one time that works out for me.
Yeah. All these failing rolls.
I think that's the first time I've actually succeeded on a stress roll in any of these games. I will. I'll put a hand on Sophia's shoulder as she's praying with the people, and I will say, Madame, we must over there. Come.
Sophia rises, what's it called, crucifies, and follows off.
I'm no Catholic. Genuflects. Is that the kind of, yeah, I think it's genuflection. Go ahead. Which would seem to be a good point to cut to the spire, Lieutenant Blonde, where you can see from the top that there is indeed a German unit camped on the far side of the village. And you can also see, I think, the subdued headlights of a half-track making its way into the village from the direction, let's say from the, can you see where the 6 is on the map? There's a little road that goes off the right-hand side of the map. I think that's where the half-track is heading. Yeah? What do you do?
First, I want to ask what a half track is.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Sorry, I don't know.
No, that's okay. If you have a look in the mission briefing at K10, K9, sorry, it's got tracks on the back half and wheels on the front. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And can carry a squad of German army, and there's an indication what a squad looks like at the top of that set of pictures.
They're coming towards us, right?
Yep.
Okay. Does it look like they want to join the camp, or does it look like they are moving on to the church?
They're coming from the camp into the village.
Oh, fuck. Well, that's not good. I think then I will abandon my post here because, I can shoot at them, but there are a lot, and it would not serve any great purpose. So I go down and tell, yes, well, I will go to Arthur, and I will tell him, first of all, I want to avoid a panic, but I will tell him in Latin, because I know he speaks Latin, and probably these people don't. I will tell them that there are Germans coming and that we have to hurry up.
There's bound to be a line in Caesar's Gallic Wars which says the enemy is advancing.
Yeah, it's the Huns, right? The Philistines coming. Yeah.
But I will tell Lieutenant, one thing you notice before you leave. It comes into the village. The squad dismounts, and you begin to see them, what looks like working house to house, just making sure the houses are clear, inverted commas.
Okay, So we have a bit of time, but not a lot. Oh, well, where is my sergeant? He's probably still playing. He's not back, right? He's still playing with his
He's
tank.
not back, but I will tell Sergeant Strauss that he will hear that half track from the far end of the village. And from ground level, we'll see, because it's in the general direction of his. He can see through those houses, Germans heading up the two little lanes that come into the village, checking the houses. What do you do?
Okay, looking at that map and looking at the tank barrel, that seems to be pointing exactly in the line of from 5 to 3 to 1. Not wanting to sort of say that's what it is, so I don't really need to traverse the turret. I'm going to load a shell and expect this German half track to sort of get to point 3.
Sorry, I may have misled. The half track is stopped where the road forks, and half a squad is coming down each of those lanes, checking houses as they go.
Okay, I will then...
Oh, no, it's much more fun if the half track's coming too. Yeah, the half track is coming along, shadowing the troops. So the troops are checking the houses and the half track's coming along behind it.
Excellent. I will load a shell and attempt to take aim. I'm not a tank gunner in any way, shape or form, but hey, tank corps, anybody can ride around in a bloody tracked vehicle. It's not hard. So, yeah, I'll attempt to, as soon as it sort of gets in what I consider sights, I'm going to attempt to pull the lever. So shell, charge bag, close the hatch, and sit waiting on the lever.
Okay. Who knows where the sergeant is, Lieutenant Blonde? However, the civilians will point you in the direction of a door where you will see Arthur and Sophia disappearing. Arthur and Sophia, beyond the door is a family who put their hands up. They clearly think that you're bound to be Germans. What do you do?
Says in French, please come down. We are British. We are here to help.
I'm Jan de Smet, and my wife, Ophélie, and he turns, and there's a woman lying on the ground. What do you do, Sophia?
Yeah, I crouch down to see who that woman is.
I'm tempted to say that she was once Agatha Marchand, but she is drawn and unconscious. It doesn't look like she's eaten anything in a week. She's coma-like. You can't rouse her, but her eyes are open. What do you do?
Well, I'm talking quietly into her ear, trying to get some kind of reaction while my hands go through her clothes to check for papers.
You will find a pad that it's a one-time pad. It's one of those ones where you use for codes. Arthur, what are you doing? Because Yanda Smet is saying that she came here about a week ago, and she was tired and exhausted, and so we let her stay in the house. But then when the Germans got closer, we took refuge here.
And how did she end up like this?
She was very agitated, and then she seemed to fall into this peculiar deep sleep. But her eyes do not close. We forced some water into her, into her mouth, but she hasn't eaten almost since she came to us. She did use that though, and he points to a suitcase near her.
I investigate the suitcase.
It's a portable radio.
Is it still in order?
Well, we'll come to that in a moment. That's the point, I think, at which Lieutenant Blonde comes into the vestry. What do you do, Blonde? Or what do you...
I don't go into the vestry. I'm more. I mean, they are doing their thing. That's fine. I'm looking out to see where the sergeant is, what he's doing, because there are Germans coming, and he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't know. I don't know.
Yes. I think. No, go on.
No, it's fine.
I think that you will have. You will notice, because you're trained in this kind of stuff, that tank that you can see from the church, the hatch at the top is now open.
Okay, so he's in the tank, and he's probably. Oh God, is he planning to attack these Germans? I hate this. Okay, I guess I will take up. I will go back to the spire, I guess, and take a position to. I have a kind of a sniper rifle, I guess.
I'm very happy for you to select that from your load.
Yes, I will. Which is what? Close? No. Heavy area? No, it's not what I. It's the Bren gun, right?
Well, no. Well, it can be. It can. That's a kind of. Or it could be a sniper rifle. Yeah, long, heavy area. Yeah.
No, I like the Bren gun. Bren gun is fine. I like these. So I get.
So you move off. You add in 3 more equipment boxes under equipment. Do you see at the top there?
Yeah, I've just.
Oh, so you have. I beg your pardon.
I already have that.
Brilliant. Okay. Okay.
I will stand ready to. Well, maybe you can get them. Maybe you can't. I'll stand ready to kill people because I'm a soldier.
Okay.
We do.
So you're staking out the area. You can see German troops working their way down that street towards you. What, Sophia and Arthur, what are you doing in this vestry?
So the pad that I found, is it like the code that we would use to contact someone, or is it like already the message?
It's the message that she was preparing to encode. And there are 2 messages. The first one that she obviously didn't get round to sending was Marcel has proof at Lille. A special SS group under the direct control of Walpurgin is transporting something to Newport for Operation Needle. And then the second one is, it says, my mind will stand these nightmares no longer. That hideous place, the loathsome sea and sky. I have to pass something on. I fear that if I go to sleep again, I will not wake. It draws me so much, but there's something down there, and they are going to bring it up. God help us, they are going to bring it up. Arthur, Sophia, what do you do?
Well, I show Arthur the message, and I say, I guess we have to go to Lille.
Yes, I think Arthur goes pale at the something down there, and they're going to bring it up reference as well. However, this might be a stretch, Alan. I have the Elder Sign. Can I draw the Elder Sign around her? Can I attempt an invocation to purge the otherworldly effects from this woman?
Because my knowledge of Call of Cthulhu is actually very poor, you define the effect of an invocation, and I let you try it. So what are you trying to do?
The Elder Sign in Lovecraft is, typically speaking, like a kind of a ward. It sort of it banishes sort of like the effects of the mythos. It holds certain creatures at bay. It's kind of like the Holy Cross, basically, in vampire mythology. It does not work astoundingly well with like a Shoggoth or whatever, right? But in this kind of thing, it would seem as though it might work. So would I be allowed to try that?
I'm prepared to. What is your objective?
My objective is to end whatever to give her some sort of reprieve, to snap her out of it, she might, obviously she'll be malnourished and whatever, but it's so that she can at least be nursed back to health by these people if needed.
Fine. Lieutenant Blonde, the first troops are now approaching that junction below the church, and the half track is just behind them. What do you do?
Is the turret turned into the direction?
The turret is already facing in that direction.
Okay. I'll wait, because I believe that Sergeant Strauss is in there, and if he is in there and if he hasn't returned yet, then he has some ordnance, and I wait for that to go off before I start shooting.
Okay, Sarge, you see a couple of soldiers come round the corner at number 3 towards you, followed by the half track. What do you do?
Well, I think it's time to shit or get off the pot. I'm going to open up. Now, while I did describe it as a tank, I have actually looked at the Matilda, and a tank would be a large stretch of the imagination. It's got a heavy machine gun. That's really all it's got.
I can reassure you, because I looked it up as well. This is a Matilda 2.
It's a Matilda
the Matilda
2.
1 is into war. It's a Matilda 2. It does have a small heavy gun.
Excellent.
So heavy weapons would apply.
Superb.
So do you want to roll the dice with the object of blowing up the half track?
Yes, and I'm prepared to roll the stress dice as well. Why not, indeed? This needs to be a good shot.
Okay, go for it.
A 4 on the expertise and only a 3 on the stress. So that's good.
So you do. The shell impacts the front of the half track, and it blows. You see it. Well, you described to me what you see.
So yeah, the shell. I mean, it's only a little half track. The shell sort of like goes straight into the engine casing. Big hit. Nice large explosion. We're talking the classic Burning Men coming out, waving arms. Falling around, and clearly there's a lot of startled German infantry that were lining either side. They seem quite startled. They're now quite nicely illuminated with a fireball behind them, and now a burning truck.
Lieutenant Blonde, what do you do?
I'll let go. I think I will shoot them now. These astonished people. Yep. I'll open up.
Okay. So your expertise is in there.
Yeah, heavy weapons is one of my expertises, and I roll with heavy weapon, right? Because I've got a Bren gun, and that's a heavy weapon.
Actually, I should have done that with a missile attack. There was the grey dice in that, but never mind.
Oh wow, I've got a 6. I've got a 6.
The rest of the rest of the squad goes down in a heap. They're just perfectly illuminated. You are going to have to roll the stress dice though, because this is the first time in this war that you've close up and personal taken out a lot of soldiers.
I'm at it's equal, so I think it doesn't go up, right?
No.
Or does it? No. Cool.
No. Stress dice have to go above.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in the vestry, Arthur, I hope you've read the rules because it's been a while since I wrote this one. I think you automatically take a point of stress anytime you try an invocation. Yeah. And then I think that you roll the dice. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure I can quite pass the full rules of this. It's,
right. So take a point of stress, no roll.
Yes, I have done. Yeah.
Roll the
Then just
ordinary
roll.
dice, and your expertise counts.
Okay.
You could include the stress dice if you wanted to.
I mean, I'm unlikely to roll higher than a 4, but let's see, right? Like, that is a 3.
Which is bare success. And so Agatha's eyes focus on you, and she says, "You have to get me home. You have to take me home. You have to take me home. Only there can they get me out of that place." And then her eyes, and she's drifts back.
He'll, like, with sweat dripping down his brow from the, looking very pale from the magic points he's clearly just contributed to this spell. He'll try and pick her up, basically, and haul her over his shoulder, and
she weighs almost nothing.
Yeah, and he will turn to Sophia and say, Sophia, and say, "She had a radio. Check if it's working."
We need to get it to the spire, I guess. And I need to encode the message.
That would make sense. Meanwhile, Philip, you can see that the explosion in the village has drawn the attention of the German camp. And you will see other half-tracks beginning to start their engines, and generally activity going on.
Well, I hope these civilians, they are all clever enough. Oh, they're probably not. So I think I will go down, find some villager, tell him to tell my compatriots that they should get the fuck out of here as quickly as they can, and that I will hold the fort until they are safe. And I go back up into the spire and start shooting.
So you go back to the spire. Fine, yeah. Fine. Arthur, Sophia, what are you? Oh no, let me go first to Sergeant Strauss. That went very well, Wilbur. What are you doing?
I'm gonna exit the tank now, and I'm gonna see the house number 3. There's the 2 houses to the right, either side of the road.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a satchel charge down on the. There's a sort of a dot on the northern, the western house.
Yeah.
So very close to the side of the road. It looks like a bit of rubble. So I'll bury a satchel charge there and drag the detonation cable across the road. So across 3 into the abandoned house there. And I'll go in there and I'll set up my Bren gun for a good firing line down the road.
Okay. And you've marked all that equipment on your list, I'm assuming.
Indeed, I have.
So I guess, Philip, you will see Wilbur clamber out the top of the tank, and from your point, you can see all of this go on. He goes past the burning half track, which is just on the corner near 3. You see what he's doing, and you see him setting up his firing position in one of the ruined houses.
Do we have a chance, the two of us, to hold off all these German soldiers? Probably not.
Not long term. You can delay.
Yeah, but I think one of us should go with the civilians, really. And I mean, how do I get that guy to get back into the church? Hey, I've got a Bren gun. When he gets back from his satchel charge, I'll go and shoot a little into his direction, just so that he maybe thinks what he's doing. I don't want to hit him.
No. So you get a couple of shots into the ground near where you are, Strauss. Yeah. What do you do? And it's coming from the top of the tower, where you will see somebody gesturing. What are you trying to get him to do, Blonde?
I'm trying to get him to get back to position and get the civilians out of here.
Okay, I'm clearly a bit confused with the lieutenant here. One, because it's dark, there's a large distance, and somebody's raining fire down in my general direction from the church tower.
Would it help if at this point Sophia and Arthur exit the church in your direction, carrying somebody?
Indeed, it would. Clearly, that. Yeah, I think the 2 agents seem to have done whatever it was they came to this town to do. I'm going to sort of use hand signals, just a short whistle and then hand signals to tell them to sort of come back towards 3, because clearly they want to get across the bridge. That's where our transport is, just past 1. And it looks like the only sort of way to get across. So I'm thinking my firing position is probably quite good at holding the Germans at bay while our 2 agents flee. But I am slightly worried about the lieutenant, who is now up in a tower with approaching Germans. I don't think that's a particularly good call. So I will say to Blake, I'll say, bloody hell, the lieutenant's not got a bloody clue in this situation. Can you get up there and tell the lieutenant to get down here?
I think the lieutenant knows exactly what he's doing. We have to go.
That'll be the end of the lieutenant if he stays there. I can only cover you for so long.
He grips onto Strauss's arm with his hand. He says, "It will be the end of all of us if we don't get out of here."
Okay, do you think you 2 can get her across the river?
Look, I have to go to the spire as well. We need to get the message out, and I need to encrypt it. I will tell the lieutenant to follow you.
It's as flat as a pancake, you fool. A radio will transmit from anywhere.
Wouldn't the height increase the signal?
I think certainly of the time it will improve reception. Your tradecraft would tell you. So what I'm seeing is Arthur dragging Agatha with Sergeant Strauss at 3 in the shadow of the burning half track. I'm seeing Sophia climbing up the spire to set up the radio. And I'm seeing Philip up there with a Bren gun waiting for the Germans. Is that fair?
I think that's a narratively satisfying way of dividing up the people who are going to be in subsequent sessions and who aren't going to be in other sessions.
I think I know what Philip and Sophia are about. So, Sarge, you're going to need to get Arthur and the asset across that bridge.
Okay. I'll assist Arthur carrying the young lady, but as I'm walking back towards the bridge, I'm going to extend my run on the charge pack. So basically, it's only thin wire with a hand detonator. So yeah, I'll just spool out a lot of wire, and hopefully that will see me across the bridge. So I can then use that if the Germans get that close. But
That
yeah,
works for
I'll be
me.
assisting Mr. Blake quite heavily.
Okay, that works for me. Up in the tower, I have Sophia scribbling on the one-time pad, desperately going, yeah. And that's when the German tank appears, heading down the larger road towards 5 on your map, and the church, preceded by infantry. What are you doing, Blonde?
I guess for now. So Sophia's still there. I think I saw that Arthur and the sergeant got out of here, right?
Yeah, you can see them heading away from that burning half track.
But Sophia's still here, and she's sending a message on the radio, so that has to be important. I don't know what it is, but it has to be important. So I stay there and shoot, open fire, I guess.
I'm inclined to say that rather than playing through the detail here, does each one of you just want to give me our kind of final credit shot? I think that probably for Arthur and Sergeant Strauss, it's simpler because you're on the far bank, and as a tank comes around the corner next to the burning half track, what do we see?
Okay, from me, I'm going to turn. I'm going to turn to Arthur and say, "You might want to cover your ears. This is going to get loud." And just as it goes past the where I laid the charge in the road, I'm going to set off the device.
And we see the tank. It'll be a Panzer I. It won't be very heavy. It'll be thrown to one side and explode. Meanwhile, in the tower, Sophia is getting a message back. Broadsword, this is Danny Boy. Broadsword, this is Danny Boy. Received. Over.
Over and out.
What do we see? The last thing for Lieutenant Blonde.
Well, if we can still leave, we will, but
no, there are infantry now following up a tank coming towards the ruined Matilda. And they'll be at the bridge shortly.
I'll start singing "This Greener Land in Our Time" and open fire at them. That's all I've got.
Fine. Sophia, do we see you joining in?
No, Sophia is kneeling next to Blonde and praying.
Fine. And I think probably as we see Blonde taking down infantry as they try to get towards the church, the last scene is we see the tank gun elevating and the top of the spire exploding. Yeah? Does that seem a satisfying point to conclude on? Thank you for leaning into that, guys. If you've got 5 minutes, I would like to do a quick. As I do everything that I try to do everything as Rich does it, so I'm going to try stars and wishes rather than roses and thorns. Can we have a quick run down the character keeper in terms of stars? Starting, Paul, with you. Any stars to pass about?
Yeah. You know, I really like the way people played the characters. You know, how they developed. You know, even over the course of the adventure, from Arthur's sort of start. You know, Philip's portrayal of the lieutenant, I thought was really good. You know, and Sophia played off the Catholic Polish noblewoman. Yeah, really good.
Thank you for that. Sabine, anything to add?
Yeah, sure. Stars for everyone because well, I always love to see your characters. They are so amazing. Horst, I liked that Polish noblewoman with her classism and the whole. No, I don't like these lower class people. Go away, please. And I love the sergeant and the Cockney accent. That was really fun. I had really good fun with that. And Alan, I love the way you prepare this. There is a lot of detail. I'm sorry for having to ask all these questions, but you are very much more prepared for this than I am.
Well, frankly, I think that's my job, isn't it? But off we go. Horst, any stars?
I would give a stars for the incredible timing. I love the fact that the adventure progressed to the point of the climax after exactly 3 hours. That's nice timekeeping.
Thank you for that. Will, stars?
Shit, I'll get off the pot. I love the Cockney geezer, like the wrong taking the secret agent from the pursuivants under his wing. I loved it. I mean, I love everybody, but I particularly enjoyed Strauss.
If I can add my stars, yes, I loved it when Sophia tore a strip off Major Johnson, because clearly he's upper class, but he's not upper class enough. I enjoyed the Cockney geezer. I enjoyed our idealistic lieutenant wrestling with refugees or advance, civilians, the military. How do I balance the exigencies of war with being an honourable schoolboy? And yes, Will, I was really pleased that you reached into the invocation locker. That was very pleasant. I was hoping you were going to take blasphemous. I mean, what else would you take? But it was really good to see that. And yeah, Arthur, I'm looking forward to having Arthur back. Shit or get off the pot, Sarge. Shit or get off the pot. Any wishes? Now, I appreciate that two of you are not in any other sessions unless we can drop out, and I'd happily invite you back in another guise. But anything that you had hoped for that you didn't see? I'll go the other way and start with Will.
I think it's things that I will get a chance to do further on, but I would really like to do some of the relieving stress, because I do think those are really interesting in the way they do it. I think that based on our past experiences, it can be a bit hard maybe to find the moments for that in the scope of operations. But I'm guessing that like when we start a session next time, we'll be able to do like this is what you did in between, right? Like rather than it being kind of like downtime actually, in the middle of a mission.
I'd begun to toy with the idea of allowing flashback to do that. But yeah, no, I would certainly be angling for that, and need to find some space for it.
Because I really want to do more invocations, and like I'm already at stress 4. So
exactly. Horst, anything that you would hope to see that you would wish to see in future episodes?
I mean, I would mirror what Will said about, because I actually really like the system. So I'm interesting. I will definitely watch the VODs to see how the mechanics work in all its intricacies. And narratively, I want to see some tentacles, I guess.
Okay, we'll try to deliver tentacles over the next 3 sessions. Sabine, anything that you were disappointed with or wished had been better? Better if.
No, I have nothing that I'm disappointed with. I'm disappointed that I somehow missed the session next week for whatever reason that was. And I hope that I might get into one of your other games because I'm waitlisted for October, I think, Nice Back Asians. And I will, of course, echo the wish for tentacles, because it's true that your games have been very tentacle-free to now.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't actually had a tentacle. Well, look, waitlist for next week, because to be honest, the turnover of players for these sessions has been enormous. So if you are available next week, do waitlist, because who knows what will happen in the next 5 days. And finally, Paul, anything that you were disappointed with and wished was better this time, or would like to wish for next time?
No. All very good. Yeah, just things to kill. Doesn't even have to be tentacles. Yeah, Bren gun. It's doesn't prejudice anybody. It'll kill anything. Maybe.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to stop the broadcast now. So wave bye-bye to the internet.